Hey guys, Britta Albert here. If this is your first time here, I am a transformational life coach, and it is my goal for this channel to help you overcome the obstacles that are standing in the way of you living your best and most authentic life. Today, I actually want to talk about changing your perceptions and different perspectives from different people. Now, how is this applicable to you? Have you ever had a different perspective on a situation as somebody else? So why do we all think differently? Wouldn't you think by now that we would all have a similar point of view or similar perspective on the earth and on people in general? But we have widely different views, different places in the world. But there's even different views within our own hometowns and cities. There's even different views within our families. How does that happen? Arguably, we could say that there are differences of opinion based upon the way that you're raised. Arguably, you could also say that there's difference of opinions based upon society. There's also difference of opinions based upon your genetics and different things like that all play a factor. But that doesn't explain how there's different opinions and different points of views within a same family. If those things were correct, wouldn't it make sense that everybody within the same family would have the same point of view or the same experience on something? Of course, you can say that there are differences of opinions and point of views based upon age, when you don't have necessarily the wisdom of life, and then older generations, they've had the wisdom, they've experienced life, they've seen things, they know things that the younger generation just has not experienced yet. You also have different points of view based upon gender. You might have different points of view based upon your skin tone and the biases of society. But that still doesn't necessarily explain how there are difference of opinions throughout the same family. So I want to go back. I want to go way back. Now, if you have ever read the Bible, or even if you've never read the Bible, if you've just heard about the Tower of Babble, does that sound familiar? Now, the Tower of Babel is in the Bible in Genesis chapter 11, verses 1 through 9. Now, the Tower of Babel is the origin myth to explain why there's different languages spoken throughout the world, and essentially paints the picture of a jealous God who all these people are coming together and they're advancing in society and they're advancing in technology, and God says, no, you think that you are more powerful than me, I'll show you. And he confuses their tongues and they disperse through all the corners of the world. Now, if you really read it, it's not that people are speaking different languages. It's that their perception, their understanding of what they're hearing is different. It's the same way when you talk about religion. It's the same way when you talk about politics. It's the same way when people read spiritual books such as the Bible. You get different things out of it because it's a different perspective and a different perception, a different understanding that each person has. So you can take the Tower of Babel and not look at it just as an origin myth to explain why there's different languages spoken throughout the world, but you can also look at that story as a metaphor. That Tower of Babel, that confusion of speech, that not understanding each other and the breaking away and the division is actually a metaphor for life in general. It's not just that the people of the world that happened to. How many times have you seen that happen in families? After so many generations, the opinions differ so much that people in different sides cannot understand the position of one another any longer. Take, for example, the generations that are coexisting right now. You have what they call it. So you've got millennials, then right after millennials, you have Generation Z, I believe it is. So Generation Z has a hard time identifying with the baby boomers and the generation before the baby boomers, which, forgive me, I'm not remembering what that one was called. Those generations, and this is going to be a general summary, so I know everybody's different, but as a general summary, the generation before the baby boomers and the generation of the baby boomers have a history of being more racist or more prejudiced. Then you have Generation Z, who are not having it. and they can't understand when they can understand respect for their elders, and you can be civil, but they can't understand the mindset of somebody who is racist. Or here's a better example, people who don't believe in gay marriage. Now you're gonna see that because of religion and more generations than that. But you see it more solidly in the older generations. And you have these newer, younger generations that just can't fathom, they cannot understand why love in its most purest form is not accepted. Now, if this is triggering you, you're gonna figure out which one you are. So, with the Tower of Babel as a metaphor, it's showing that it's natural and it's normal for people and generations to split apart. Then they go out into the world. And as you have these households, you have these families, you have these generations, they're not going to keep the same ideas as the previous generations, like I just said. You might have it within your immediate family. Have you ever heard of the term black sheep? You be the one who stands out. You're the one who has a different opinion. You're the one who has a different perspective, a different point of view. So the Tower of Babel is not an origin myth that happened once long ago, and this is why we have different languages. The Tower of Babel is a metaphor for what happens in our societies, what happens in our towns, what happens in our families. And these differences of opinions, these differences of perspective, this inability to understand one another. But what it doesn't address is the ability to respect that there are differences of opinions and difference of beliefs. Now, if you know me and you know that I have an interracial family, I am Caucasian and my husband is Black. That does not sit well with everybody. I will say that there are far more people who are fine with it, see nothing wrong with it, than there are those who fully and passionately disagree with it. There are mostly those, if they disagree with it, who are going to be very passive about their disagreement. They're not going to attack us physically. They're not going to attack us verbally. I can honestly say that that's never happened to me. I've had a few experiences, but by and large, extremely few. So I can understand that those people have a difference of opinion. They understand that I have a difference of opinion. That does not mean that we're cool to be in each other's lives. But it does mean that we respect the life that each other has. They can go their way, I can go my way. If we see each other at the grocery store, then it is what it is. We don't have to talk, but we also don't have to fight. So there's a level of respect for each person and their beliefs that's also necessary, and that's how you have a balance. So when it comes to a difference of opinion and a difference of perspective, think of it on a spiritual level. What is the story of Babel actually telling us and why? And do you think that it's necessary to have these difference of opinions? Personally, my belief is that it's inevitable. As we progress as a society, as we raise the vibration, as we become more heart-centered, as the planet, we make a choice, okay? This is nothing new, and I'm not preaching any kind of agenda. I'm stating the fact. You as a consumer, you make a choice every time you have something. Does it go into a landfill or does it get recycled? You are the only one who can make that choice. So as our planet is either going to be destroyed or is going to heal, that is something that's going to be inevitable one way or the other based upon our free will. So difference of opinions and difference of perspective, in my opinion, is inevitable as well, because it's becoming more polarizing. You're going to have to choose one or the other. And my friends who want to be passive, my friends who don't want to do the research, my friends who don't know what to believe, no choice is also a choice. No choice puts you in this category over here of landfill. Because if you're not choosing to do anything, you're definitely not choosing to help. But again, that's neither here nor there. All I'm saying is that my personal opinion is that a difference of opinion and a difference of perspective is inevitable. It doesn't matter what family you're raised in. It doesn't matter the culture that you grew up in. It doesn't matter how you grew up as far as being rich or being poor, those things, they have a factor in who you are and why you believe some of the things that you believe. But ultimately, each of us has to make a choice or non-choice, which is still a choice, of the things that we believe and the things that we experience as we get older. The older you are, the less you can use the excuse, well, my mom said this, so I believe this. My dad said this, so I believe this. As an adult, you have a responsibility to arm yourself with knowledge, or not, because you do have free will. So it's becoming more polarizing. Whenever something is polarized, when it's either bad or good, and the gray area in between gets smaller and smaller, that is when things are inevitable. That is when you'll find difference of opinions within families, difference of opinions within societies. You have different political parties, different agendas. You're going to choose one side or another, whether you choose one side or another. But what do you think? Do you think that it's inevitable for there to always be difference of opinions? Do you think it has to do with technology? Do you think it has to do with the fact that that story was merely about language and it has nothing to do with difference of opinions or understanding each other? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to this channel and also share this video so we can continue to grow this community. Thank y'all so much for being with me this evening, and I will see you next time.